Fiancée slept with her gym buddies, so I exposed her at the wedding and walked away. I'm Garrett, 29, and until 6 months ago, I thought I was living the dream. Good career as a forensic audio engineer, beautiful fiancée, wedding planned, future mapped out. Now I'm sitting in my empty house. The wedding was yesterday, and I've never felt more alive. Let me take you through how I methodically destroyed the woman who thought she could play me for a fool. Sienna and I met 4 years ago at a conference in Denver. She was presenting on wellness integration in corporate environments. She managed a boutique fitness studio specializing in aerial yoga and high-end training programs. I was there analyzing audio evidence for a corporate fraud case. The contrast worked. She was vibrant where I was analytical. Spontaneous where I was methodical. Everyone said we balanced each other perfectly. For 3.5 years, it was perfect. Or perfect enough that I didn't question the small things. The way she'd guard her phone. The sudden need for certification workshops that ran until 2 a.m. The new passwords on everything after we got engaged 8 months ago. I told myself it was wedding stress. I told myself I was being paranoid. My brother Mason runs a private investigation firm. 3 months before the wedding, he pulled me aside at a family dinner. Something's off about Sienna, he said. The way she and her mother look at you when you're not watching. Like you're a mark, not a man. I laughed it off. Mason was always suspicious, occupational hazard. But the seed was planted. 6 weeks before the wedding, Sienna left her iPad on the kitchen counter. She was in the shower. A notification popped up. Red heart emoji, can't wait to taste you again tonight. Most men would have confronted her immediately. Stormed into that bathroom. Demanded answers. I'm not most men. I took a photo of the notification. Checked her calendar, she had late training certification scheduled for 10 p.m. Then I went about making breakfast like nothing happened. Kissed her goodbye when she left for work. Told her I loved her. Then I went to work myself. Not my regular work, the real work. My job involves extracting and analyzing audio evidence that most people think is permanently deleted. Voice messages, video clips, recorded conversations. What people don't realize is that nothing is ever truly gone if you know where to look. And I know exactly where to look. I started with her iPad that night while she was at her certification. The deleted messages folder was a goldmine. Hundreds of messages with red heart emoji, Rashad, her personal trainer. But that was just the appetizer. There was also fire emoji, Corey, a CrossFit coach from a rival gym. And a group chat, after hours crew. The messages went back 6 months. 2 months before our engagement. The photos were explicit. The videos were worse. But what killed any remaining feeling I had for her were the voice messages she sent them, laughing about me. Calling me the provider. Saying I was husband material, not fantasy material. Rashad asking if she felt guilty. Her response, why? He gets the ring, the house, the kids eventually. You get the fun. Everyone wins. I copied everything. Every message, every photo, every video, every voice note. Created encrypted backups. Organized them chronologically. Built a timeline that would hold up in court. Then I found the hotel receipts in her email. The Grandview Inn. Booked under Mr. and Mrs. G. Morrison. She used my initials. My grandmother's maiden name. The woman whose estate loan was paying for our wedding. She booked it the night of my grandmother's funeral. While I was grieving the woman who raised me, she was with them. The rage that filled me wasn't hot. It was Arctic. Calculating. I sat in my home office until 3 a.m., not planning revenge, but planning complete and systematic destruction. The next morning, I made her coffee. Smiled when she kissed me. Listened to her lie about the certification being exhausting and agreed she should probably go to more of them to advance her career. I even suggested she book a spa weekend with her mom the week before the wedding to de-stress. For 6 weeks, I lived a double life. The devoted fiancé planning our dream wedding by day. The methodical investigator documenting her betrayal by night. I used my professional equipment to recover everything. Found deleted Venmo transactions labeled training at midnight. Discovered she'd been using our home gym, the one in my garage, for her activities when I traveled for work. My security camera footage confirmed it. She'd disabled the indoor cameras but forgot about the one facing the garage entrance. Timestamps showed Rashad and Corey arriving separately on multiple occasions, sometimes leaving at 4 a.m. But the masterpiece was discovering her mother Deborah was not only aware but actively encouraging it. Text messages between them were explicit. Marriage is a business decision, darling. Garrett provides stability. Keep your fun discreet and everyone stays happy. Deborah, the real estate mogul who'd always treated me like I was beneath her daughter, was coaching her on how to manipulate me. How to hide assets. How to ensure she'd get maximum benefit from our marriage while maintaining her recreational activities. I documented everything. Created a comprehensive file that would make the NSA proud. But information without strategy is just data. I needed the perfect moment for maximum impact. The wedding was my stage. 200 guests. Her entire social circle. Business contacts. The country club crowd her mother desperately wanted to impress. Both families. Professional photographers. Professional videographer. And, this was key, a live stream for distant relatives that Sienna insisted on to show off our perfect love. Perfect. 2 weeks before the wedding, I started moving money. Legally, carefully, documented. The joint savings account emptied into my personal account. The wedding fund transferred. I had every right, I deposited 90% of it. Changed beneficiaries on insurance policies. Removed her as authorized user on credit cards. Consulted with a lawyer about the house, bought before we met, solely in my name. Prepared eviction paperwork. 1 week before the wedding, I met with Felix, my best friend who runs a cybersecurity firm. Showed him everything. He helped me prepare the presentation. We tested it 3 times on the venue's AV system during sound checks for the ceremony music. The venue coordinator thought I was just a meticulous groom. I was meticulous, just not about what she thought. The night before the wedding, Sienna stayed at her mother's house, tradition. She texted me that she loved me, that she couldn't wait to be my wife. I responded with a heart emoji. Then I watched on my security app as Rashad's car pulled into my driveway at 11 p.m. He was checking if I was home. I wasn't, I was at Mason's house, reviewing everything one final time. The wedding day dawned perfect. Colorado sunshine, mild temperature, pristine conditions. I put on my suit. Fixed my tie. Looked in the mirror and saw not a groom, but an executor of justice. The ceremony began at 3 p.m. Sienna looked radiant in her $8,000 dress. Her mother beamed from the front row. Rashad sat in the 5th row with his wife. Oh yes, he was married. Corey was there too, +1 to another guest, trying to look casual. The pastor began the ceremony. Readings were read. Music was played. Then came the vows. If anyone has any objection to this union, speak now or forever hold your peace. I raised my hand. I do. Update 1, the execution. The silence was deafening. Sienna laughed nervously. Garrett, what are you doing? I pulled out my phone, walked to the AV system podium we'd set up for the readers. I object to marrying someone who's been having affairs with multiple men for the past 6 months. Her face went white. This isn't funny. No, I agreed, connecting my phone. It's not. The first slide appeared on the massive screen behind us. A screenshot of her message to Rashad. God, you make me feel things Garrett never could. Timestamp, the night of our engagement party. The gasp from the crowd was visceral. Sienna lunged for my phone. I sidestepped, calm as conducting a forensic analysis. Second slide. A photo she sent Corey. I won't describe it, but several elderly aunts covered their eyes. Stop. Sienna screamed. Please. Third slide. The hotel receipt. Mr. and Mrs. G. Morrison. February 14th. I spoke into the microphone, my voice steady as if presenting evidence in court. February 14th was my grandmother's funeral. While I was burying the woman who raised me, Sienna was at the Grandview Inn. Her father stood up from the 3rd row and walked out without a word. Fourth slide. A video clip, just audio and subtitles to keep it less explicit. Sienna's voice laughing with Rashad about me. About how I was convenient. About how she'd keep us both after the wedding. That's when Rashad's wife stood up. You were where last Tuesday? The confrontation that followed was spectacular, but I continued my presentation. Fifth slide. The text exchange with her mother. Marriage is a business decision, darling. Deborah's real estate colleagues at table 6 exchanged glances. One took out his phone and started recording. I clicked through 20 more slides. Messages. Photos. Timestamps. Voice transcripts. Each one a nail in the coffin of her reputation. But wait, I said, my voice cutting through the chaos. There's more. Final slide. A legal document. This is an eviction notice. Sienna, you have 30 days to vacate my property. Your belongings will be placed in storage. The engagement ring, legally considered a conditional gift in Colorado, should be returned immediately. She was sobbing now. Not pretty tears, ugly, desperate sobs. Her makeup running, her carefully constructed image shattered. How could you? She wailed. How could I? I repeated. I'm not the one who turned our home into a motel. I'm not the one who used our initials to book hotel rooms. I'm not the one who laughed about manipulating someone who loved you. I turned to address the crowd. The reception is paid for. The bar is open. Consider this my freedom party. Everyone is welcome to stay except Sienna, Deborah, Rashad, and Corey. Security, hired by me specifically for this possibility, stepped forward. Corey tried to bolt but tripped over the aisle runner, landing face first into a flower arrangement. Rashad was being physically restrained by his wife. Deborah was on her phone, probably trying to do damage control. And Sienna? She stood there in her wedding dress, surrounded by the ruins of her deception, finally seeing me for who I really was. Not the convenient provider. Not the stable option. But someone far more dangerous, someone with patience, resources, and the ability to destroy her completely while maintaining perfect composure. I handed the microphone to the pastor, who looked like he'd witnessed an exorcism. Then I walked down the aisle, each step measured, controlled. The crowd parted like the Red Sea. At the door, I turned back. Oh, Sienna? I had our marriage license invalidated yesterday. Turns out lying about ongoing relationships constitutes fraud in Colorado. My lawyer will be in touch. Update 2, the immediate aftermath. I'm writing this from my home office, 6 hours post-wedding. My phone has 847 messages. I've responded to none of them. The reception apparently continued without me. Mason just sent me videos. People actually celebrated, my extended family turned it into a massive party. The DJ played Before He Cheats and the entire crowd sang along. The $5,000 cake was devoured. The open bar was demolished. Mason gave a speech about loyalty and truth that got a standing ovation. Sienna's social media has imploded. The live stream was screen recorded by at least 40 people. It's already on TikTok with 2.3 million views. The title, Groom Exposes Cheating Bride with Receipts, Nuclear Revenge. Her fitness studio's Instagram is being flooded with comments. Yelp reviews are pouring in. Her website crashed from traffic. Rashad's wife posted their divorce announcement on Facebook an hour ago. She tagged Sienna. She also tagged every single member of their gym with, "This is who is training your husbands." Corey was fired via text during the reception. His boss was at the wedding. Saw everything. Sent him a message, "Don't bother coming in Monday. Your final check will be mailed." Deborah, the real estate mogul? 3 of her biggest clients were at the wedding. I've been told they're pulling their listings. Her business partner texted me asking for the full evidence file. Apparently there's a morality clause in their partnership agreement. But here's the interesting part. Remember that mysterious message in my car? The unknown number? She just revealed herself. Her name is Ava. She's a documentary filmmaker who's been investigating relationship fraud for 2 years. She was at the wedding with a hidden camera crew. They filmed everything. But that's not the biggest revelation. Sienna has done this before. Update 3, the documentary revelation. Ava just left my house. We talked for 3 hours. What she revealed changes everything. She's been tracking Sienna and Deborah for 18 months. They're not just cheaters, they're running a sophisticated operation. The fitness studio? It's a hunting ground. They target successful men, extract resources, then discard them. The pattern is always the same. Sienna identifies targets through the studio's client database, creates chance encounters, builds relationships while maintaining side relationships for her needs, gets engaged or married, extracts maximum resources, either continues the marriage as a shell while cheating, or creates a scenario for profitable divorce. I was target number 4. Target number 1, Anthony, a pharmaceutical executive. Married 2 years. She got $500,000 in the divorce after fabricating abuse claims. He lost his job defending himself. Moved to Florida to start over. Target number 2, Bradley, owned a chain of dispensaries. Engaged. She convinced him to put her on the business documents. When he caught her cheating and broke it off, she sued for her share of the business she'd been added to. Settled out of court for $300,000. Target number 3, Warren, a young tech entrepreneur. This one is dark. She got him to propose, convinced him to take out a massive life insurance policy with her as beneficiary for their future family. When he discovered her affairs and confronted her, the psychological torture she and her mother inflicted was so severe he attempted to end his life. He survived, barely. He's been in therapy for 2 years. Ava has documents, financial records, text messages from all 3 cases showing the same playbook, the same manipulation tactics, even some of the same phrases she used with me. But here's where it gets worse. The fitness studio? It's funded by the money from her previous victims. And it's co-owned by Deborah through a shell company. They're literally using the profits from destroyed men to hunt new ones. Ava wants to include my story as the culmination of her documentary. The one where the victim fought back. The one where their system finally collapsed. She has footage from the wedding from 3 different angles. She has interviews with Anthony and Bradley lined up. Warren is considering participating if his therapist approves. The documentary is titled The Black Widows of Denver. I agreed to participate. Full access to my evidence. On-camera interviews. Complete transparency. Because I'm not done destroying them. Update 4, the legal machinery. It's been 1 week since the wedding. My lawyer has been busy. First, the criminal charges. Fraud, identity theft, and extortion. The evidence I gathered shows Sienna used my personal information to open credit cards I didn't know about. Small amounts, but enough for felony charges. She also used my grandmother's social security number, obtained from funeral documents in my house, to run background checks on potential targets at her gym. The FBI is now involved. Turns out, using someone's SSN without authorization, especially a deceased person's, is a federal crime. Second, the civil suit. Not just against Sienna, but against Deborah and their shell company. RICO charges, Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. Pattern of criminal activity for financial gain. My lawyer says with 3 prior victims willing to testify, we have a strong case. Third, the fitness studio. The state licensing board received my complaint with full documentation. Using a fitness facility to hunt romantic targets constitutes professional misconduct. Their business license is under review. But the beautiful part? I'm not paying for any of this. Remember that $45,000 wedding fund? My lawyer is working on contingency, but I've also been approached by Anthony and Bradley. They want to join the suit. Class action. Warren's family is considering joining too. Suddenly, it's not just me against them, it's all their victims, united. Sienna tried to contact me through her lawyer. Wanted to negotiate. Offered to return the engagement ring, sign away any claim to shared property, and go quietly. I responded through my lawyer, no negotiation. Full prosecution. Complete restitution to all victims. Her lawyer's response was interesting. Ms. Morrison may have information about her mother's other activities you'd find valuable. She's trying to flip on Deborah. Update 5, the unraveling. 2 weeks post-wedding. The dominoes are falling faster than I anticipated. Sienna was arrested yesterday. The identity theft charge is stuck. She's out on bail, but her passport was confiscated. The news ran the story, fitness instructor arrested in romance fraud scheme. They used her Instagram modeling photos. The comments section is brutal. But Sienna flipping on her mother? That opened Pandora's box. Deborah, it turns out, has been running similar schemes for 20 years. Not just through Sienna, but through 2 other daughters from previous marriages. A family business of destroying men. The FBI raid on Deborah's real estate office was spectacular. 12 agents. Boxes of documents. Computers seized. Her clients fleeing like rats from a sinking ship. They found detailed files on 17 men labeled prospects. Financial records showing $3.2 million in suspicious transfers over 5 years. Communications with her other daughters about their projects. A literal playbook document titled Maximizing Emotional Investment for Financial Gain. The other daughters? One's in Miami running the same game. The other in Los Angeles. Both are now under investigation. But here's where it gets personal for me. In Deborah's files, they found my complete psychological profile. She'd hired someone to analyze me before Sienna even approached me. They knew about my grandmother raising me. About my parents dying young. About my tendency to avoid conflict. They knew exactly what buttons to push. The profile recommended Sienna play the free spirit who needs stability role. It noted my career in forensic analysis and literally said, high attention to detail but likely to dismiss red flags in personal life due to emotional investment. They profiled me like I was a mark in a con game. Because I was. The rage I felt reading that document was unlike anything I'd experienced. They didn't just betray me, they studied me, analyzed my weaknesses, and exploited my trauma. But they made one miscalculation. They profiled my weaknesses perfectly. They failed to account for my strengths. Update 6, The Revenge Multiplies. 3 weeks post-wedding. The documentary trailer dropped. 2.7 million views in 48 hours. Netflix picked it up for distribution. Ava is being interviewed on major podcasts. The story has gone international. I'm getting messages from victims of similar schemes worldwide. Sienna's fitness studio closed permanently. The landlord terminated the lease citing the morality clause. The members canceled en masse. The equipment was repossessed, turns out it was leased, and the payment stopped when the accounts were frozen. Rashad's divorce was finalized in record time. His wife took everything. His reputation in the fitness community is destroyed. He moved back in with his parents in Wyoming. Corey started an OnlyFans. It has 3 subscribers. His mother is one of them, trying to be supportive. That detail shouldn't be funny, but it is. But Deborah? Deborah's fall has been epic. The state revoked her real estate license. The FBI seized her assets pending investigation. Her husband, oh yes, she's married to victim number 0, a neurosurgeon who has no idea what she's been doing, filed for divorce and a restraining order. He's been funding her schemes unknowingly for 15 years. Her other daughters were arrested last week. The Miami one was running the same game on 3 men simultaneously. The Los Angeles one had just gotten engaged to a Hollywood producer. The producer is now executive producing Ava's documentary. You can't make this up. Warren, the tech entrepreneur who almost lost his life? He testified before the grand jury yesterday. Walked in wearing a suit, confident, rebuilt. Looked Deborah in the eyes and detailed every manipulation, every cruelty, every calculated destruction of his self-worth. The prosecutor said his testimony was the most powerful victim statement she'd ever witnessed. Anthony and Bradley have started a support group for male victims of romance fraud. It has 847 members already. They asked me to be on the board. I accepted. But the sweetest revenge? It came from an unexpected source. Update 7, The Phoenix. 1 month post-wedding. I'm sitting in my home office, but everything is different now. The house has been professionally cleansed, not spiritually, though I considered that too, but professionally deep cleaned and reorganized. Every trace of Sienna removed. I converted the garage gym into a workshop for restoring vintage audio equipment. The engagement ring money went to Warren's Mental Health Foundation. My forensic audio business has exploded. Apparently, exposing a fraud ring publicly is excellent marketing. I've been hired by 3 major law firms and have a contract with the State Attorney General's office. My specialty? Investigating romance fraud and relationship crimes. Mason and I started a side business, premarital investigations. Discreet background checks for people who want to verify their partner's history. We've had 200 inquiries in 3 weeks. The slogan? Trust, but verify. Felix's cybersecurity firm developed an app for documenting relationship red flags and suspicious behavior, encrypted, legally admissible evidence storage. It's called Truthkeeper. I'm an investor and advisor. The legal cases are progressing beautifully. The criminal trials start in 3 months. The civil suit looks likely to settle for 7 figures, to be split among all victims. Deborah's assets alone are worth $4.7 million, all potentially subject to seizure. But here's the unexpected part. Remember Ava's assistant producer? Her name is Iris. She's been my point of contact for the documentary, coordinating interviews, reviewing evidence. She's brilliant, former prosecutor turned filmmaker. Sees through deception like it's tissue paper. We've been working together closely. Very closely. She was there for the hardest interviews, when I had to detail the emotional manipulation. She's the one who pointed out that my ability to compartmentalize trauma and maintain logical thinking under emotional distress wasn't a weakness Sienna could exploit, it was the strength that allowed me to destroy her. Last night, she kissed me. Said she'd been wanting to do that since she saw the wedding footage. Any man who can maintain that level of composure while burning his world down is someone worth knowing, she said. I kissed her back. Felt something I hadn't felt in years, genuine attraction without calculation, interest without agenda. We're taking it slow. Very slow. She knows my trust is fractured. She doesn't care. I prosecuted con artists for 5 years, she told me. I know what real looks like. You're real. The irony? Sienna created her own replacement. By being so spectacularly corrupt, She brought into my life someone who specializes in seeing through corruption. Update 8, The Reckoning. 2 months post-wedding. The trials have begun. Sienna pled guilty to fraud and identity theft. Her lawyer negotiated it down from 15 charges to 3. She got 18 months in federal prison, 3 years probation, and has to pay $500,000 in restitution. The judge called her a calculated predator who weaponized intimacy for profit. She cried during sentencing. Not pretty tears this time, real, terrified tears. Orange doesn't suit her. But the moment that broke her? When Warren stood to give his victim impact statement. He didn't talk about the money she stole or the lies she told. He talked about how she made him believe he was unlovable. How she and her mother convinced him that no one else would want him. How their psychological torture made him believe the world would be better without him. You didn't just steal money, he said. You tried to steal my future. Every relationship I might have. Every moment of happiness. Every chance at love. You tried to murder my soul. Sienna collapsed. Had to be helped to her seat. For the first time, I think she understood what she'd done. Deborah's trial was different. She fought everything. Claimed entrapment, coercion, mental illness. Nothing stuck. The evidence was overwhelming. 20 years of documented schemes. 17 victims identified. 3 daughters trained to be predators. She got 8 years federal time. No parole eligibility for 6. Her assets were seized under RICO. Every property, every account, every investment. $4.7 million to be distributed among victims. Her husband, the neurosurgeon she'd been married to while running these schemes? He testified against her. Turned out she'd been drugging him lightly for years to keep him compliant and unaware. He's suing for attempted murder. The other daughters pled out. 3 years each. They're young enough to rebuild their lives after if they choose to. Rashad and Corey weren't charged. Being a side piece isn't illegal, just immoral. But justice found them anyway. Rashad works at a gas station now. Corey moved back to Idaho, lives in his childhood bedroom. The documentary releases next month. Ava showed me the final cut. It's brutal. Beautiful. Devastating. The wedding footage is the climax, my methodical exposure intercut with interviews from all the victims, showing how each revelation connected to their experiences. The ending? It's not my destruction of Sienna. It's Warren at his therapy session, talking about rebuilding. Anthony with his new family in Florida. Bradley's dispensary chain thriving. And me, in my workshop, restoring a 1960s reel-to-reel recorder while Iris works on her laptop nearby. The message is clear: we survived. We rebuilt. We won. Final update, 6 months later. This will be my last update. The chapter is closing. Sienna is serving her sentence at a federal facility in Texas. I received one letter from her. I didn't open it. Gave it to my lawyer sealed. If she ever tries to profit from this story, that letter proves continued harassment. Deborah is in federal prison in California. Her husband's attempted murder case is proceeding. He found evidence she'd been poisoning him with benzodiazepines for 5 years. Small doses. Enough to keep him foggy, compliant. The additional charges could add 20 years to her sentence. The documentary won 3 awards at Sundance. Netflix released it globally. It's been viewed 47 million times. The victim support group Anthony and Bradley started has 15,000 members worldwide. They've helped expose similar schemes in 12 countries. My business is thriving beyond imagination. I have 3 employees now. We specialize in relationship fraud investigation. Last month, we exposed a bigamist in Dallas who had 3 families. This month, we're working with the Secret Service on a case involving a foreign romance scam ring. Mason and I expanded our premarital investigation service. We've checked 400 couples. Found serious issues in 67 cases. Prevented 67 potential disasters. Our waiting list is 3 months long. Felix's Truth Keeper app has 2.3 million downloads. It's helped document evidence in over 3,000 cases of relationship fraud. We're in talks with 3 states to make it an official resource for domestic violence documentation. Warren started a foundation for male victims of emotional abuse. It provides free therapy, legal resources, and support groups. He's engaged now to his therapist's former colleague. They met at a conference on trauma recovery. She knew his whole story before their first date. Loved him anyway. Loved him more for surviving it. Anthony remarried his high school sweetheart. They reconnected after she saw the documentary. She reached out to say she never believed the accusations Sienna made against him. They have twins now. Bradley's dispensary chain went public. He's worth $40 million. He dates but won't marry. Says he likes his freedom too much now. Can't blame him. And me? Iris moved in last month. Not rushed, not forced. Natural. She brought 3 boxes and a cat named Schrodinger. She still works on documentaries. Her next one is about victims who become advocates. I'm not in this one. She says it would be a conflict of interest since she plans to marry me eventually. She proposed that, by the way. Not formally. Just mentioned it while making coffee. When we get married, I want a small ceremony. Maybe just family. No more than 20 people, I agreed. No big productions. No live streams. No crowds. Just real. The house feels different now. Lighter. The garage workshop is where I spend my evenings, restoring old equipment while Iris writes scripts. Sometimes Warren stops by. We're friends now, bonded by shared trauma transformed into purpose. Mason brings beer. Felix brings his laptop. We work on cases, share stories, plan the next expose. Last week, I got a call from a man in Seattle. His fiancée is acting suspicious. Similar patterns to Sienna. He saw the documentary. Wants help. I took the case. Because here's what I learned: evil thrives in silence. Predators count on victims being too ashamed, too broken, too afraid to speak up. They count on the world dismissing male victims, on society saying we should be strong enough to handle it alone. But when you expose them, when you drag their methods into the light, when you refuse to be ashamed of being targeted, when you turn your pain into purpose, that's when you win. Not just for yourself, but for everyone they might have hurt next. Sienna thought she was hunting a mark. She caught a watchdog instead. I don't regret a single moment of that wedding. Not the planning, not the execution, not the fallout. It was the most expensive show I've ever produced, but the returns have been immeasurable. She took my trust. I took her freedom. She took my grandmother's funeral day. I took her future. She took my peace. I took everything else. And I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Cold? Yes. Calculated? Absolutely. Unrepentant? Without question. But free? Completely. That's the thing about revenge served at exactly the right temperature. It doesn't leave you hungry for more. It satisfies completely. It closes the chapter. It lets you move forward. I'm moving forward now. The documentary airs globally next week. The book rights just sold. The movie rights are in negotiation. Every penny of my share goes to the Victim Foundation. Sienna created a victim. That victim became an investigator. That investigator became an advocate. That advocate became a hunter of hunters. And I'm just getting started. Edit. Since hundreds of you have asked, yes, the documentary is real and will be available on Netflix starting next week. It's called The Black Widows of Denver. And to the men, and women, who've messaged me with similar stories, you're not alone. Document everything. Trust your instincts. And remember, the shame belongs to them, not you. To those saying I went too far, I disagree. I went exactly far enough. Not one step more, not one step less. Every action was legal, every revelation was true, every consequence was earned. And to Sienna, I know you have internet access for 1 hour a day. If you're reading this, know that your story has become a cautionary tale told around the world. Your name is synonymous with fraud. Your methods are now a checklist for what to watch for. You didn't just fail to destroy me. You created the blueprint for your own kind's destruction. Checkmate. Story 2. I betrayed my fiancé at my bachelorette, but his cold, calculated revenge destroyed everything I planned. Let me paint you the picture of what my life looked like before I torched it. Preston Hawthorne and I met at a charity gala 4.5 years ago. I was there as A+1, wearing a dress I couldn't afford, pretending I belonged among Denver's financial elite. He was there because his firm bought a table. Brooks Brothers suit, understated watch, the kind of quiet confidence that comes from knowing your worth without announcing it. I played it perfectly. Not too eager, not too aloof. Mentioned my travel blog but downplayed it as just a creative outlet. Let him think he was pursuing me while I orchestrated every encounter. Second date at a wine bar I'd researched extensively. Third date at a restaurant where I knew his managing partner dined regularly. Preston loved that we randomly ran into his boss, who was impressed by my knowledge of emerging markets. Thank you. 3 hours of YouTube videos. Within 6 months, I'd moved into his Reno penthouse. Within a year, my travel blog went from hobby to business, funded by the trips Preston thought were good for us to experience together. He never knew about the sponsorship deals, the affiliate commissions, the secret savings account where I stockpiled my backup plan. By year 3, I'd built my brand to 95k followers. Adventures with Bianca luxury travel through the eyes of a modern woman. What followers didn't know was that every sunset photo in Santorini, every morning coffee in Tokyo, every candid laugh on a Maldivian beach was calculated. Preston appeared in exactly 12% of posts, enough to seem taken but not enough to be that girl who only posts couple photos. The proposal came exactly when I'd planted the seeds for it. His best friend's wedding, my casual mentions of ring styles, the Pinterest board I left open on our shared iPad. He proposed in Aspen during golden hour, photographer I'd secretly hired catching every moment. The video went viral on TikTok. 2 million views. 14 brand deals came from that single post. Preston thought he was marrying his adventurous, creative soulmate. I was marrying my security while maintaining my freedom. Or so I thought. Part 2, The Craving. Here's something about being with a perfect man that nobody tells you. It's mind-numbingly boring. Preston's idea of spontaneity was trying a new restaurant without a reservation. His wildest fantasy was early retirement at 55. He made love like he managed portfolios, competent, consistent, risk-averse. Enter Garrett Voss. Garrett was everything Preston wasn't. Photographer, traveled for art not accounts, lived in a converted warehouse, had tattoos with actual meaning. We'd worked together on shoots for 2 years, professional boundaries intact. Until they weren't. It started with lingering eye contact during a rooftop shoot. His hand on my waist positioning me for a photo, staying there a second too long. Inside jokes in our DMs. Him sending me songs at 2 a.m. with "This reminded me of your energy." Preston, meanwhile, was sending me calendar invites for dinner with his parents. I should have cut it off. But I was addicted to the thrill. The danger. The wanting. Every interaction with Garrett was electric in a way Preston had never been. When Garrett looked at me, he saw Bianca the artist, the wild child, the flame. Preston saw Bianca the future wife, the appropriate partner, the safe choice. My bachelorette party was coming up. 12 women, 5 days in Miami, South Beach penthouse suite. Preston kissed me goodbye at the airport, told me to have fun with the girls but be safe. I promised him I would, already knowing Garrett had a shoot in Miami that same weekend. What a coincidence. Part 3, Miami Burns. The first 2 nights were exactly what Instagram expected. Matching swimsuits, champagne towers, synchronized dancing at 11. My maid of honor, Sloane, had planned everything perfectly. What she hadn't planned was my 11 p.m. migraine on night 3. I just need to lie down in a quiet room, I told them, sneaking my second phone, yes, I had a second phone, into my clutch. You girls go to the drag show without me. Garrett was at the Edition, 8 minutes away. I told myself I was just going for a drink. One drink to feel alive again before surrendering to a lifetime of predictability. The hotel bar was all amber lighting and bodies that knew what they wanted. Garrett had a whiskey waiting. We didn't even finish our drinks before we were in the elevator, his hands in my hair, my back against the mirrored wall. His room was on the 14th floor. We barely made it inside. I won't describe what happened next, not because I'm ashamed, though I am now, but because it's not the point. The point is that I felt more alive in those 3 hours than I had in 3 years. Electric. Powerful. Desired. Like I was 22 again, before strategic choices and calculated moves. I was back in my suite by 3 a.m. The girls were still out. Perfect. No witnesses. Except I went back the next night. And the night after. 3 times. Each more reckless than the last. The final morning, I ordered room service to his room. Eggs Benedict and shame, though the shame wouldn't hit until later. We ate in bed, planning future shoots, pretending this was sustainable. What about Preston? Garrett asked exactly once, what about him? I responded, my engagement ring sitting on Garrett's nightstand like a witness. I flew home Sunday, exhausted but exhilarated. The girls had noticed nothing. My phone showed 14 texts from Preston, all variations of hope you're having fun, love you. I responded with selfies I'd pre-taken, maintaining my alibi. The secret made me feel powerful. I'd had my cake and eaten it too. Preston would never know. We'd get married, I'd have my security, and I'd always have Miami as my private rebellion. I was untouchable. God, I was stupid. Update 1, posted 3 days after original. The comments on my original post were brutal but expected. Narcissist. Sociopath. You got what you deserved. I'm not arguing. But you wanted to know what happened next, so here it is. The first week back from Miami was normal. Preston asked about the trip. I showed him carefully curated photos. Told him about the drag show I hadn't attended, the spa day that had happened while I was in Garrett's bed. He smiled, said he was glad I'd had fun, started talking about wedding suit options. I fell back into routine. Gym at 6, coffee at 7, content creation until noon, lunch with whichever influencer needed to be seen with me. Garrett texted twice. I didn't respond. Miami was a moment, not a lifestyle change. I had a wedding to plan, a brand to maintain. The shift was subtle. Preston started working late, not unusual for quarter end. But his questions became specific. Did you enjoy the seafood restaurant on Ocean Drive? I hadn't mentioned Ocean Drive. Sloane posted about it, he said. She hadn't. Then came the wedding finance meeting. Preston, ever the analyst, wanted to review vendors, ensure we were optimizing spending. I should have known something was wrong when he insisted we meet in his home office instead of the kitchen. His desk was too organized, papers arranged like evidence. Before we start, he said, pulling out his iPad, I wanted to share something interesting. The first photo appeared on screen. Me entering the Edition Hotel. Timestamp, 11:47 p.m. That's not, I started. Don't. His voice was calm. Too calm. I have 147 photos. Would you like to see them all, or should we skip to the highlights? My stomach became a black hole. But I tried to play it off. Preston, I can explain. No need. He swiped. Me and Garrett kissing in the elevator. Swipe. Room service card outside his door. Swipe. Me leaving at 3:24 a.m., hair destroyed, makeup gone. Swipe. 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 Your friend Sloane has interesting Instagram habits, he said. Posts stories, deletes them, but screenshots live forever when you pay the right person. A private investigator. He'd hired a private investigator. But that's not the best part, he continued, pulling out a folder. Real paper, like this was a business presentation. Text messages recover beautifully from cloud backups. Even from second phones hidden in underwear drawers. He knew about the second phone. Of course he did. The texts were printed, highlighted. Me calling him boring but reliable to Garrett. My message to Sloane about one last adventure before prison. Garrett's responses, increasingly graphic, each one timestamped while Preston thought I was at a spa. When? I whispered. When did I know? Preston leaned back. 20 minutes after your plane landed in Miami. You logged into our joint airline account from your second phone. Different device ID. Sloppy. He'd known the entire time. Let me go. Let me hang myself with my own rope. So what now? I tried to sound strong. Therapy? Counseling? What do you want? Preston smiled. Actually smiled. Oh, Bianca. This isn't a negotiation. This is a notification. Update 2, posted 1 week after previous. The presentation, because that's what it was, a full presentation, continued for another hour. Preston had spent 3 weeks preparing what he called the dissolution strategy. While I was picking wedding flowers, he was documenting my fraud. While I was editing Miami photos, he was executing my professional destruction. Let's start with the finances, he said, pulling up spreadsheets. Were you aware that our prenup has a comprehensive infidelity clause? I wasn't. I'd signed it tipsy on champagne, trusting my lawyer friend who'd glanced at it for 5 minutes. The clause was bulletproof. Infidelity meant I forfeited all claims to shared assets, joint accounts, even gifts given during the relationship. The $11,000 ring on my finger? Technically returnable property. Your lawyer should have caught this, Preston noted. But Sloane isn't actually a lawyer, is she? She's a paralegal who likes to give advice. I checked. My mouth went dry. He'd researched my friends. Now, regarding your career. New folder. You've been charging personal expenses as business for 3 years. The IRS finds that interesting. As do your sponsors who've been paying for solo female travel while funding couples trips. Screenshots of my expense reports. Bank statements showing duplicate charges. The second set of books I kept for my backup plan account. But that's just money, he continued. Let's discuss reputation. The anonymous Instagram account he'd created was called Behind the Filter _ Bianca. Already loaded with 36 posts, scheduled to go live in phases. The first wave, screenshots of me trash talking other influencers to Sloane. The second, Photos from Miami with timestamps during events I'd claimed to attend for sponsors. The third, side-by-side comparisons of my candid posts versus the 50 takes Garrett had sent me. Your engagement metrics are also fascinating. Preston pulled up another document. 42% bot followers. Purchased in batches from followercart.com. Your actual influence is roughly equivalent to a suburban mom blog. Every word was a scalpel cut. Precise. Calculated. Clean. The wedding venue knows, he added casually. Cancelled yesterday. Non-refundable deposit, but they're donating it to a women's shelter. Your dress arrives Thursday. I've arranged for it to be auctioned live on Instagram. Proceeds to financial literacy programs for young women. Seemed appropriate. I found my voice. You can't do this. I'll sue. This is revenge P or blackmail or... Nothing I'm sharing is illegal, Preston interrupted. Public information, your own words, photos taken in public spaces. I consulted a lawyer. 3 lawyers, actually. Would you like to see their opinion letters? He had thought of everything. Every possible move I could make, he'd already countered. Why? I whispered. If you knew in Miami, why let me come back? Why not just end it? Because you needed to choose, he said. Every day for 3 weeks, you chose to lie. Every kiss, every I love you, every wedding planning session, all choices. You could have confessed. You could have shown a shred of humanity. Instead, you posted couple photos while Garrett's cologne was still on your skin. He was right. I'd had 21 days to come clean. 21 days where I'd looked him in the eye and lied. Enthusiastically. Creatively. Without hesitation. Your parents receive the package tomorrow, he said, closing his laptop. Tuesday, your agency gets theirs. Wednesday, sponsors. Thursday is the dress auction. Friday, the Instagram account goes live. Preston, please. You have 72 hours to get your things out. Only what you bought with your money. I have receipts for everything else. He stood up, straightened papers that didn't need straightening. Garrett's girlfriend knows, by the way. Has for a week. She's been documenting his portfolio shoots. Turns out you're not the only client he's been positioning after hours. The door closed with a soft click. Professional to the end. Update 3, posted 2 weeks after previous. You want to know what free fall feels like? It's watching your follower count drop in real time. It's your phone buzzing so much from crisis texts that you have to turn it off. It's your mother calling you a disappointment to the family name while your father sits silent in the background. The package arrived at my parents' house Monday morning. Preston had included everything. Photos, texts, emails, even a helpful timeline for clarity. My mother, who'd been bragging about my engagement at her garden club, threw up in her heritage roses. My father, CEO of a petroleum engineering firm, immediately hired a PR crisis manager. Not for me. For them. Tuesday, my agency called. Didn't even let me explain. Your contract has been terminated for ethical violations and fraud. Our legal team will be in touch regarding repayment of advances. Wednesday was a massacre. Every sponsor, every brand, every collaboration, gone. The emails were form letters, clearly coordinated. Preston had given them all the same deadline, the same evidence, the same out. Distance themselves from me or be associated with my fraud. Thursday, the dress auction. Preston didn't just auction it. He live-streamed himself explaining why. Calm, factual, devastating. The dress was purchased with joint funds for a wedding built on deception. Rather than waste beauty on a lie, we're converting it to something useful. $23,000 raised in 4 hours. The comments were brutal. My former followers calling me everything from trashy to evil. Friday, behind the filter _ Bianca went live. The first post hit at 9 a.m. Screenshots of me calling a follower too poor to understand lifestyle content. By noon, I was trending. Not good trending. Career-ending trending. The kind where BuzzFeed writes articles titled "Influencer's Spectacular Self-Destruction Exposes Dark Side of Instagram Culture." Garrett fared no better. His girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, posted everything on photography forums. His client list evaporated. Someone found his artist statement about capturing authentic beauty and memed it next to him sneaking out of hotels. He texted me exactly once, "You ruined my life." The irony wasn't lost on me. Sloan tried damage control, posting about supporting women through mistakes. Preston's next wave included her texts laughing about Bianca's backup plan and calling Preston an ATM with abs. She lost her paralegal job when the firm saw she'd been giving illegal legal advice. By Sunday, 1 week after the confrontation, I was done. Professionally deceased. Socially radioactive. Living in my childhood bedroom because my apartment, Preston's apartment, was no longer accessible. My cards declined. My accounts frozen. My reputation Googled into oblivion. But Preston wasn't finished. Update 4, posted 1 month after previous. Rock bottom has a basement. After the initial explosion, I thought maybe I could rebuild. Rebrand as a cautionary tale. Write a book called Falling from Grace or some garbage like that. Become the reformed villain who teaches others about authenticity. Preston anticipated this too. Every time I tried to create new social media accounts, they'd get reported for ban evasion. Whenever I pitched articles about learning from mistakes, editors would receive anonymous emails with my worst texts. I applied for a marketing job at a startup. They got a package showing my fake metrics before my interview. My parents let me stay for exactly 1 month before the ultimatum: get therapy and a real job, or get out. I chose therapy, thinking I could manipulate another therapist into seeing me as a victim. Dr. Harrison wasn't having it. First session, she asked me to describe what happened without using the words but, because, or just. Try it. It's impossible to minimize your actions without those words. I cheated on my fiancée sounds different than I just cheated because I was feeling trapped, but it meant nothing. The real job part was harder. My degree in communications was useless when your name autocompletes to scandal on Google. I applied to 53 jobs in 2 months. Coffee shops, retail, anything. Nobody wants to hire someone whose moral failure is documented across 17 websites. Finally, desperation led me to a call center. Overnight shift, customer service for a medical supply company. My supervisor is 22, fresh out of college, makes TikToks about managing older employees. My coworkers don't know who I am. They think I'm just another failure who peaked early. The financial hit kept coming. The IRS audit Preston triggered found $68,000 in unreported income. The payment plan takes half my call center salary. The agency sued for breach of contract, another $40,000. My backup plan account? Frozen during the audit. The jewelry Preston had given me? Legally reclaimed through the prenup clause. I live in a studio apartment in Aurora now. 600 square feet, view of a parking lot, neighbors who fight about cryptocurrency. My Instagram-worthy life reduced to microwave dinners and basic cable. But the worst part? The loneliness. Not romantic loneliness, I'm done with that for a while. The friendship void. Every single friend chose Preston. Not because he asked them to, but because he showed them who I really was. Years of screenshots where I'd mocked their insecurities, used their secrets as conversation starters, treated their trust as currency. Garrett vanished. Moved to Portland or Austin, depending on which rumor you believe. Occasionally, I Google him. Nothing comes up anymore. He scrubbed himself from the internet, started over under a different name probably. I envy that freedom. Preston, meanwhile, thrives. I know because LinkedIn suggests his updates. Partner at his firm. Board member of 2 nonprofits. Dating a constitutional lawyer named Dorothy who looks nothing like me, shorter, darker, smarter. They volunteer at the same shelter where my wedding dress money went. The poetry of it all. The final update, posted 3 months after previous. This is my last update. Not because the story ends, but because I need to stop living in it. 6 months have passed since Miami. 7 since I thought I was invincible. The call center promoted me to senior representative, which means I make $2 more per hour and handle escalated complaints. I'm good at it. Turns out when you've destroyed your own life, angry customers seem manageable. Dr. Harrison says I'm making progress. We've moved past the what happened to why I thought it could happen. Turns out my entire life was performance. Every relationship transactional. Every emotion calculated for maximum return. I wasn't a person, I was a brand. And brands don't have consequences, until they do. Last week, I saw Preston at Whole Foods. Not the fancy one in Cherry Creek, I can't afford that anymore. The normal one, where normal people shop. He was buying flowers, probably for Dorothy. He saw me, I know he did. But he looked through me like I was a stranger. Which I suppose I am. The Bianca he knew never existed. I wanted to apologize. Not the strategic apology I'd tried before, full of explanations and minimizations. A real one. But what would be the point? The damage is documented, archived, permanent. My name will autocomplete to cheater until the internet dies. Someone asked in my last post why I'm sharing this. It's not redemption, I know that's impossible. It's not sympathy, I don't deserve any. It's warning. For every person who thinks they're too smart to get caught, too careful to face consequences, too special for rules to apply. You're not. I wasn't. I thought Preston was boring, predictable, safe. Turns out he was patient, thorough, and absolutely ruthless when betrayed. I thought Garrett was passion, art, life. He was just another cheater looking for validation. I thought I was the protagonist of my story. I was barely a reliable narrator. The last text Preston ever sent me arrived yesterday. My birthday. First contact in 3 months. One line. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference. Happy birthday. Attached was a single photo, the vision board I'd made 5 years ago at a Manifest Your Destiny workshop. Right there in glittery letters, marry rich, stay pretty, live easy. 2 out of 3 isn't bad, I'd thought back then. Now I'm none of the above. Not rich, net worth -80,000. Not pretty, stress aged me 5 years and 6 months. Not living easy, every day is a reminder of what arrogance costs. But I'm living. Real living, not performing it. It's harder, lonelier, smaller. It's what I deserve. To everyone calling me names in the comments, you're right. To everyone saying Preston went too far, you're wrong. He gave me exactly what I earned, complete, documented, irrevocable consequences. No violence, no illegal acts, just truth deployed strategically. To anyone reading this who's cheating or thinking about it, stop. Not because it's wrong, you already know that. Stop because you're not as smart as you think. Your partner isn't as oblivious as they seem. Your tracks aren't covered. Your reasons aren't special. And when it explodes, not if, when, it will take everything. Your career, your friends, your family's respect, your own identity. You'll end up in a studio apartment, making $17 an hour, writing Reddit posts to strangers because nobody else will listen. That wedding file Preston mentioned in my original post? The one labeled for the wedding? I finally opened it last week. It was our entire relationship, documented. Every dinner, every trip, every milestone. Photos I didn't know he'd taken. Receipts for surprises he'd planned for after the honeymoon. The business he was going to help me launch, legitimately this time. The life we could have had. At the bottom, one note, this is what you traded for 3 nights in Miami. He was right. Epilogue, comment from Preston. Verified by mods as actual Preston. Bianca sent me this thread. Said I should read it. See her growth. I did. Every word. Here's what she's still not understanding. I didn't destroy her life. I revealed it. Every consequence she faced was from her own actions being exposed. The fraud, the lies, the betrayal, all hers. I just refused to let her hide it. She paints me as some calculated mastermind who planned this revenge. The truth? I was going to forgive her. That first night she got back from Miami, I had a speech prepared. About working through it, about counseling, about forgiveness. I loved her that much. Then she looked me in the eye and told me about the spa day that never happened. Showed me edited photos. Kissed me with the same mouth that had been on him 12 hours earlier. Did it easily. Naturally. Like breathing. That's when I knew. This wasn't a mistake. It was who she was. The next 3 weeks weren't revenge planning. They were grief. I grieved while documenting the death of who I thought she was. Every lie she told, every fake smile, every I love you, I recorded it all because I needed to believe it was really happening. The systematic destruction she describes? That was just me removing fiction from fact. Showing sponsors who they were really paying. Showing her parents who they'd raised. Showing our friends who they were defending. Truth isn't revenge. It's just truth. She thinks the opposite of love is indifference. She's wrong. The opposite of love is love wasted on someone incapable of returning it. I gave her 4 years of genuine love. She gave me a performance. Dorothy knows about all of this, by the way. Read every text, saw every photo, knows exactly what I'm capable of when betrayed. She says it's one of the reasons she trusts me. A man who won't tolerate deception won't commit it either. We're getting married next summer. Small ceremony. Real friends. No Instagram photographers. To anyone reading this thinking I was too harsh, imagine building a life with someone for 4 years only to discover it was all theater. Imagine every I love you being a line in their script. Imagine being someone's safety net while they swing on someone else's trapeze. I gave her 3 weeks to tell the truth. She chose 21 days of lies. She chose Garrett. She chose the thrill. She chose wrong. Now she's choosing accountability, apparently. Good for her. But growth doesn't erase damage. Accountability doesn't restore trust. And understanding doesn't equal forgiveness. I wish her nothing. Not well, not poorly. Nothing. She's a stranger who once had my passwords. That's all the closure either of us needs. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you really like our videos, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Have a great day.